Since the most ancient times, blood has always been considered something sacred. It represents the vital force, the link between body and soul, the substance that keeps us alive. Ancient civilizations performed rituals where this precious liquid was offered to gods and invisible forces. But why? What is it about blood that makes it so valuable for occult practices and secret societies? If we carefully examine historical, mythological, and even scientific records, we find a disturbing pattern. Blood is not just a biological fluid, but a true reservoir of energy. Could this energy be used for something beyond what we imagine? And more importantly, what is really being extracted from the initiates in these rituals? Since the earliest records of humanity, blood has been seen as a link between the material and spiritual worlds. For many ancient cultures, this liquid was more than just a symbol of life. It was the very manifestation of vital energy. But what led these civilizations to shed blood in the name of the gods? Was it merely superstition, or was there hidden knowledge behind these practices? In Sumer, one of the oldest known civilizations, cuneiform texts record rituals where human blood was offered to appease the Anunnaki deities who, according to some interpretations, had a direct connection to the creation of humanity. The Sumerians believed that the gods needed this blood to maintain their presence on Earth, as if it were an essential fuel for their existence. But did this belief arise from nothing, or could there be some truth behind it? Ancient Egypt also had rites in which blood was spilled to consecrate temples and statues. Some records indicate that pharaohs conducted secret ceremonies where the blood of enemy warriors was used to strengthen their connection with the gods. One of the most enigmatic examples lies in the rituals of Heka, Egyptian magic, where blood was mixed with sacred oils to create amulets of protection and power. Could this substance contain hidden properties that modern science has yet to understand? Among the Maya and Aztecs, human sacrifices were grand spectacles, performed to ensure the harmony of the universe. The Aztec god Huitzilopochtli, lord of war and the sun, needed to be fed with blood to keep the light shining in the sky. Aztec codices describe in detail how priests would tear out still-beating hearts to offer to the gods, while blood poured toward the ground. But what if these rituals were not merely symbolic? What if something was actually being absorbed during the shedding of blood? The Phoenicians, a mysterious and influential people, also practiced blood sacrifices. Accounts indicate that children were offered to Moloch, a feared and revered deity, in ceremonies where blood was spilled into sacred flames. This practice was so impactful that the Bible condemns it multiple times, warning against the worship of Moloch as something abominable. In the book of Leviticus 18:21, it is written, "And thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Moloch, neither shalt thou profane the name of thy God." But if this practice was so condemned, why did it continue for centuries? Could the priests have known something that was never revealed to us? Curiously, in various ancient cultures, accounts of blood sacrifices coincide with myths about beings that feed on human vital energy. The Sumerians had stories about the Utaku, spirits that drained the life essence from people. In Mesoamerican mythology, there were the Tsutsumime, entities that needed human blood to maintain their strength. And in medieval Europe, legends emerged about creatures that had to consume blood to remain immortal, the vampires. Could these stories be connected? Expanding our perspective to Hinduism, we find accounts of bloodthirsty deities such as Kali, the goddess of destruction, often depicted with her tongue out, as if ready to drink the blood of sacrifices. Vedic texts suggest that certain tantric rituals involved blood offerings to obtain supernatural blessings and awaken hidden powers. Could this practice have survived to the present day in some secret societies? The Greeks and Romans, despite being more rational societies, were not immune to these rituals. Blood sacrifices were common in the cults of Dionysus and Saturn, seen as a form of transcendence, where the sacrifice allowed direct connection with the divine. However, the most disturbing accounts arise in the context of the so-called mysterious initiatic sects, where blood rites were kept in absolute secrecy. What exactly took place in these ceremonies? What unites all these civilizations is the fact that blood was never seen merely as a bodily fluid, but as something charged with a special energy. But does this energy dissipate once it leaves the body, or can it be absorbed by something or someone? Did the priests who performed these rituals possess an ancestral secret that was lost over time? The central question is, were these rituals simply a way to appease the gods, or was there a hidden benefit for those who carried them out? Were these ancient priests accessing knowledge that was later concealed from humanity? If blood was considered so valuable that it became the currency of exchange between men and gods, what exactly was being negotiated? What is it about blood that makes it so special? It is not just a biological fluid, but a carrier of genetic, spiritual, and energetic information. Since ancient times, it has been treated as a sacred substance, and even in the most hidden esoteric traditions, it is considered a conductor of vital force. But what if this vital force is more than just a symbolic concept? What if blood truly stores something that can be used, transferred, or even stolen? Modern science already acknowledges that blood carries much more than nutrients and oxygen. It contains information about an individual's genetic identity and serves as a reservoir of biochemical data that influences health, the mind, and even aging. Studies on epigenetics suggest that traumatic events can leave hereditary marks on DNA, passing down through generations. This means that blood not only sustains life, but may also contain emotional and spiritual records of ancestors. If blood stores cellular memories, could certain blood rituals access or even modify this information? Some esoteric traditions argue that by shedding blood in rituals, one is not only releasing vital energy but also breaking spiritual connections or transferring energetic traits to other beings or planes. Could this be one of the reasons why certain secret societies insist on blood rites within specific lineages? Within this context, an intriguing question arises. If blood contains spiritual and emotional traces, could it be manipulated for control purposes? Studies on vibrational frequency have already demonstrated that emotions such as fear, pain, and despair alter the biochemical composition of blood, releasing hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. These elements can be collected and even amplified. It is no coincidence that so much has been said about adrenochrome, a substance that, according to some theories, is extracted from the blood of people subjected to high levels of stress and used as a supposed elixir of rejuvenation. This search for the perfect blood is not merely linked to secret societies or the occult. Biotechnology companies like Ambrosia Medical have in the past offered young blood transfusions as a way to combat aging. Scientific studies show that injecting plasma from young individuals into older organisms leads to increased cellular regeneration and a reversal of age-related damage. This suggests that stories about entities seeking the blood of the young may not be mere myths, but rather a sophisticated and concealed practice of longevity. But what if blood is not just a vehicle of life, but a kind of key to accessing spiritual planes? Physicist and engineer Nikola Tesla once said, "If you want to understand the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." Blood, beyond containing genetic and spiritual information, also responds to external vibrations. In resonance experiments, it has been demonstrated that blood can have its structure altered by sound frequencies and electromagnetic fields. This leads to a provocative thought. What if certain blood rituals were designed to tune into a specific frequency and attract non-human intelligences? This concept is not new. The ancient Egyptians already believed that certain sacrificial rites could open portals to the beyond. In Vedic tradition, there are accounts of tantric ceremonies where blood was used to strengthen prana, the practitioner's life energy. African and indigenous cultures speak of the necessity of offering blood to forest spirits or ancestors for their blessings to manifest. Is it mere coincidence that so many peoples, separated by time and space, share the belief that blood holds power? And there is another important question. Blood may serve as a link between the mind and the body. Modern research indicates that blood cells can influence brain activity in ways still not fully understood. In studies on cellular memory, it has been discovered that blood receptors interact directly with neurons, suggesting that blood exchange could affect not only the body but also the psyche. Could this be the reason why certain rituals involve not only the shedding but also the consumption of blood? What stands out is that, within some esoteric traditions, there exists a concept known as bound blood, in which an individual's DNA is energetically connected to their soul. This would mean that by manipulating this blood, one could influence not only the physical body but also the person's spiritual essence. If this is true, could certain blood rituals be altering the very destiny of the victims involved? If there is something to be extracted from blood, what is truly being sought? The answer may lie at the intersection of science and spirituality. Whether in occultism, genetics, or research on rejuvenation, the truth always seems to be hidden beneath different layers. But if the quest for blood spans across eras, are we merely dealing with superstition? Or is there something real and powerful behind it? Something known and manipulated by only a few in secrecy? If blood is a key, who truly holds the lock? If there is one thing that defines the global elite throughout history, it is their access to knowledge that the general public remains unaware of. Whether in controlling politics, the economy, or religions, one constant remains. The most powerful always seem to possess secrets that grant them longevity, influence, and, most importantly, dominance over the masses. But what if one of these secrets involved blood? Why has this fluid, used in rituals for millennia, continued to be surrounded by mysteries and occult practices among those who rule the world? Much has been said about the influence of secret societies on the global stage, but few realize that these organizations tend to share a peculiar obsession: bloodlines. Orders such as Skull and Bones, high-degree Freemasonry, and the Illuminati have always emphasized the importance of blood purity within their circles. But why? Is there something within these bloodlines that makes them special, or is it merely a symbol of status? Looking back at history, we see that kings and emperors were often accompanied by occultists and alchemists who believed that blood could be manipulated to gain power and longevity. Paracelsus, one of the greatest alchemists of the Middle Ages, wrote that the essence of life was contained in the blood and that its manipulation could grant access to superhuman knowledge and abilities. Centuries later, the famous magician John Dee, advisor to Queen Elizabeth I, conducted experiments with human blood to communicate with spiritual entities. If these practices were already occurring among monarchs, did they truly disappear over time, or were they simply hidden from the public? The concept of blue blood, so closely associated with nobility, may have deeper origins than we imagine. Some royal bloodlines considered themselves descendants of gods or superior beings, which could explain their insistence on intermarriage within aristocratic families. This practice was not merely intended to keep power within a closed circle, but also to preserve something valuable within the blood itself. Could this be linked to the knowledge of blood as a vehicle of energy and power? In modern times, blood rituals appear to have taken on new forms, adapting to the contemporary era. Instead of being performed in temples for all to see, many speculate that these practices now take place at discreet gatherings of secret societies and exclusive events. One intriguing example is the Bohemian Grove, a private club where politicians, bankers, and influential businessmen meet annually for symbolic rituals reminiscent of ancient sacrifices. Although members deny any involvement with blood-related practices, leaked recordings and testimonies suggest that the ceremonies may be more than mere reenactments. What really happens at these gatherings? Another rarely discussed aspect is the relationship between the elites and advanced genetic research. Biotechnology companies have invested millions in the search for methods to reverse aging, with one of the most controversial techniques being young blood transfusions. The company Ambrosia Medical once offered this service to wealthy clients, promising rejuvenating effects. Interestingly, similar practices were described in medieval times, when it was believed that drinking the blood of the young could restore vitality. Has science merely modernized an ancient ritual? And then, we reach one of the most controversial topics: blood as an energy currency. Some theories suggest that within certain occult societies, blood is not just used for symbolic rituals, but as a true form of payment. The energy extracted from an individual, especially in states of fear and suffering, could be used in ways that go beyond our understanding. The term adrenochrome appears in this context, linked to the idea that the blood of victims subjected to extreme panic might contain special properties. While mainstream science does not recognize this usage, independent investigations have pointed out that the substance has been repeatedly mentioned in obscure documents and even in literary works such as Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas by Hunter S. Thompson. Recently, leaked emails and confidential documents have brought to light discussions about rituals and dark practices involving influential figures. The scandal known as Pizzagate raised suspicions about elite involvement in trafficking networks and macabre ceremonies. Although mainstream media dismissed the allegations as conspiracy theories, the fact remains that investigations into child disappearances and human trafficking continue to be a global issue. What if some of these cases are linked to rituals that never cease to exist? Another crucial point is the symbolism present in popular culture. Why do we see so many references to blood in Hollywood award shows, music videos of influential artists, and large-scale events? Is it merely a Gothic aesthetic, or is there an attempt to normalize certain symbols and practices for the masses? The entertainment industry has often been accused of being connected to secret societies. If this is true, what is the real purpose behind these hidden messages? The elite has access to information that most of the population will never know. If blood is a source of power and transformation, it would be no surprise that those at the top of the pyramid would want to monopolize this knowledge. But the question remains, how far does this pursuit go? Are they merely interested in longevity, or is there an even deeper and unknown purpose behind these practices? If blood truly contains a unique vital energy, could it be used to access other realities? This idea may seem absurd to those unfamiliar with occult traditions and certain modern scientific studies. However, there is evidence suggesting that this substance, so highly valued throughout history, may serve as a link between the physical world and unknown dimensions. But how would this work? And more importantly, why do some secret societies seem obsessed with this knowledge? The first point to consider is that many blood rituals are linked to paranormal phenomena and unexplained manifestations. Places where sacrifices or large-scale bloodshed occurred, such as battlefields, ancient execution sites, and sacrificial temples, are often associated with supernatural activity. But is this merely the product of collective imagination, or is there a real energetic foundation behind it? Witnesses who claim to have participated in occult rituals report that when blood is spilled, the environment around them seems to change. The temperature suddenly drops, shadows move on their own, and some people report feeling invisible presences observing them. According to these accounts, spilled blood creates a kind of vibrational opening, a breach that allows something that is not normally present in our reality to enter. Could this be related to dimensional portals? Modern physics already suggests that the universe may be composed of multiple dimensions beyond the three we perceive. In some theories, such as string theory, matter could interact with parallel realities through specific frequencies. Now, imagine that blood, being a conductor of vital energy, could be used to tune into these frequencies. This would mean that certain rituals are not merely symbolic, but actual mechanisms for manipulating reality. Science has already proven that blood responds to electromagnetic stimuli and sound frequencies. Studies show that certain types of waves can alter its molecular structure. This brings us to an intriguing point. If blood is sensitive to vibrations, could specific chants and rituals transform the substance into an energetic key capable of interacting with spiritual planes or even opening portals? Within this context, there are disturbing accounts from former members of secret societies who claim that blood rituals are used to summon entities that do not belong to this world. Some of these witnesses assert that these entities demand the substance as a form of payment in exchange for knowledge, favors, or influence. But what kind of beings are these? Are they merely creations of the human mind, or does something truly exist beyond the veil of our reality? The idea that blood can be used to establish contact with unknown intelligences is not limited to occultism. In secret military projects, such as those led by DARPA, the U.S. Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, research has explored the use of biological components to communicate with artificial intelligence systems and neural networks. What if some of these studies are investigating the properties of blood as a means to create interfaces between the biological and the digital? Another theory suggests that certain elites may be attempting to recreate ancient technologies based on occult knowledge of blood. In regions such as Mesopotamia and Egypt, inscriptions describe the use of blood in ceremonies where portals were opened for the gods. Could this have been merely religious symbolism, or were these texts describing something far more advanced than we imagine? Additionally, some theorists believe that global events involving large-scale violence, such as wars, attacks, and mass disasters, may be used as rituals on a grand scale, where bloodshed releases massive amounts of energy for an unknown purpose. This idea connects to investigations into secret societies that allegedly promote conflicts to obtain spiritual and energetic benefits. But who could be orchestrating this? Looking at folklore from various cultures, we find stories about cursed places where great tragedies occurred and which are still considered sites of supernatural manifestations. This aligns with the theory that blood holds a type of energetic memory that remains even after the physical body dies. Thus, if a location was the stage for sacrifices or extreme violence, its energy could linger, creating a zone where reality becomes unstable and more susceptible to paranormal phenomena. One of the most unsettling questions that arise is, what really happens during certain mysterious disappearances around the world? Every year, thousands of people vanish without a trace, often under strange circumstances. In some regions, There are inexplicable patterns of disappearances that coincide with places historically associated with blood rituals. Could there be a connection between these occurrences and occult practices that are still active today? If all this is true, it means that blood is far more than just a biological fluid. It may be a key to accessing information, energies, and entities beyond our comprehension. But if there are those who possess the secret, who is using this knowledge? And what is their true purpose? If blood can open portals to other dimensions, what or who is waiting on the other side? Participating in a blood ritual is not merely an isolated event. It is a process that can forever alter the energetic and psychic structure of the initiate. But what truly happens to those who undergo these ceremonies? Are they merely giving up a part of their vitality, or is something deeper being reconfigured within them? In esoteric studies, there is a concept known as the modification of subtle bodies. Beyond the physical body, spiritual traditions claim that we possess other energetic layers, such as the astral body, the etheric body, and the mental body. These bodies are said to act as intermediaries between consciousness and the material world. Some occultists believe that blood rituals do more than drain an initiate's vital energy. They alter the vibrational frequency of these subtle bodies, making them more susceptible to manipulation. But manipulation by whom, and for what purpose? Accounts from ritual participants reveal that something changes within them after the ceremony. Some report an increase in intuition and a stronger connection to unseen forces, while others describe a loss of identity, as if they were hidden within themselves. Could the ritual be reconfiguring aspects of consciousness to allow new influences to take hold? In high-level initiatory orders, there is talk of spiritual programming for new members. The theory is that the ritual serves not only as a test of loyalty, but also as a method of energetic reprogramming, where specific ideas and thought patterns are implanted into the initiate's psyche. If blood contains information about a person's essence, then manipulating it within a ritual could serve to alter that essence, shaping their way of thinking, feeling, and acting. But if this kind of programming is possible, what are its limits? Within some occult traditions, there is a belief that certain blood sacrifices can activate latent abilities in the initiate. Historical and modern accounts describe individuals who, after undergoing intense rituals, develop the ability to predict events, increase their influence over others, or even display heightened physical resilience. Could this be nothing more than a placebo effect, or does blood truly serve as a channel for inner transformation? The idea that blood can grant power, however, raises a disturbing question. What is the cost of this exchange? Among initiates' testimonies, many describe that along with their newfound gifts came unexpected consequences. Chronic insomnia, paranoia, the feeling of being constantly watched, and an increasing dependence on further rituals. Is it possible that these spiritual gains do not come for free, but rather as part of an energetic pact? In the study of mind control, there is evidence that exposure to intense trauma can restructure a person's psyche, making them more suggestible. CIA projects like MKUltra investigated how extreme events could be used to modify human consciousness. What if blood rituals have a similar effect? What if these ceremonies are designed to break the mental resistance of the initiate, making them more receptive to external influences? The issue of energetic bonds must also be examined from a new perspective. If a ritual creates a link between the initiate and spiritual entities, can that bond ever be broken? Some traditions claim that once a person's blood is used in a ritual, they become spiritually marked, and their energy can be accessed even years later. But if this is true, could certain initiates be continuously drained without even realizing it? Another theory suggests that blood rituals may alter a person's energetic lineage, leaving marks on their descendants. Science has already shown that traumas can be genetically transmitted through epigenetics, affecting the children and grandchildren of those who have experienced extreme events. Could these rituals be reconfiguring not just the initiate but also future generations connected to them? If so, what are the long-term implications? The reality is that the spiritual and energetic impacts on initiates are not only immediate, they may extend throughout their entire lives and beyond. If these rituals have the power to alter a person's energy, how much of that energy still belongs to them after the ritual? And more importantly, can the effects of these ceremonies ever be reversed, or is there a point of no return? If blood truly contains an individual's spiritual identity, then do initiates in these rituals remain the same people they were before? If blood rituals have existed for millennia and continue to be performed in secret circles, it means they not only serve a purpose, but that this purpose is valuable enough to be preserved by those who hold occult knowledge. But what exactly is being extracted in these rites? Is it merely the vital energy within the blood? Or is there something even deeper being taken from the participants? The first hypothesis, widely discussed in occultism and esoteric science, is that these rituals modify the essence of the initiate. However, contrary to what one might think, it is not just an extraction of life force. Some traditions suggest that a blood ritual can serve to reprogram an individual's energy field, transforming them into something different from what they were before. This means that, beyond energy loss, there is a change in spiritual identity, as if the person were being reconfigured into a new being. But who, or what, is orchestrating this transformation? In the study of shamanism and ancient mystical practices, there exists the concept of consciousness transfer. Some ancient tribal ceremonies involved rituals where a warrior, by drinking the blood of a powerful enemy, believed he was absorbing their strength, courage, and even memories. But what if this idea was more than just symbolism? What if certain occult practices use blood to transfer fragments of one person's consciousness into another, or even into entities beyond our comprehension? There is evidence that blood contains more than just genetic material. Research on cellular memory and epigenetics suggests that not only biological but also emotional and even spiritual information can be stored in the blood. This raises a disturbing question. What if blood rituals are not just extracting vital energy, but also stealing memories, experiences, and fragments of an individual's spiritual identity? An even more unsettling theory suggests that blood is not only being extracted but also replaced with something else. Ancient esoteric texts describe initiates who, after undergoing these rites, were never the same again. They not only lost part of their original essence but began to act and think completely differently, as if something new was operating through them. Could these rituals be a means of entity transfer, where the original consciousness of an individual is displaced to make room for another presence? Beyond the esoteric aspect, there are modern scientific connections that may help explain what is truly being extracted in these rites. Neuroscience experiments have discovered that blood contains biochemical signals that can influence a person's behavior and emotions. If blood can be chemically altered by emotions such as fear and despair, could certain groups be exploiting this phenomenon to modify the mental and spiritual state of participants? Technology and advanced biotechnology also play a role in this equation. Cutting-edge research is exploring ways to store information directly in human DNA, using blood as a biological database. This raises an intriguing question. Could the true secret of blood rituals be not only spiritual but also technological? If blood contains information beyond genetics, then certain occult societies may be using these practices to decode and manipulate the very structure of humanity. Another crucial point is the possibility that these rituals are being used to influence the spiritual evolution of humanity. Some theories suggest that, throughout history, occult groups have interfered with the energetic vibration of the population through large-scale bloodshed events, such as wars, public sacrifices, and orchestrated tragedies. This would indicate that blood rituals not only extract something from the individual, but may also be redirecting the course of human evolution in ways we do not yet understand. Finally, there is an even more extreme hypothesis. What is being extracted does not belong only to the initiate, but to humanity as a whole. If blood contains not only individual but also ancestral information, then each drop spilled in a ritual may represent the removal of something collective, a sort of erasure of our species' spiritual memory. If this has been happening for centuries, what have we lost in the process? If blood truly holds the key to our spiritual identity, what would happen if someone gained complete control over this substance? If you're interested in exploring more about spirituality, I've specially selected some videos full of deep knowledge and fascinating discoveries that you'll love. Just click on one of them. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to continue this journey of self-discovery and spiritual learning. Your commitment to knowledge is the first step toward transforming your reality.